Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Chess Masters, and today it's part 2 of the basics of chess, and that is checks and checkmates. If you haven't looked at part 1 yet, be sure to watch that. There's a link in the description below. So today we're going to be looking at checks and checkmates. First we're going to be looking at a check. A check is when a piece attacks the opponent's king, and you'll see that in our first example where CobaltActor is going to explain.
Okay, this is our first example where we're going to try and attack the opponent's king. We're white, so we want to attack the black king to give check. Now, can you see any way that white can give check, meaning that he can make one of his pieces attack the black king? Now, there is actually several ways to do this, but the way we are going to be looking at it today is bishop to b5. Don't worry, if you got queen to a4, you also got this right. Bishop to b5 puts the king in check. You can also hear that little noise, right? You hear that like loud clicking noise because the bishop is attacking the king. This means that the king is in check and he must run away or protect himself in some way. Remember, the king cannot be captured, so he always has to run away and make sure he stays safe. There are 3 ways to protect your king if he gets in check. The first way is to move your king. The king can move to a square where he will no longer be in check. The second way is to capture the piece that is giving check. In this case, that doesn't work because nothing can capture the white bishop right now. And the third way is to move a piece in the way of the check. Remember, if knight is giving a check, this strategy won't help because knights can jump over pieces. But since we are checking with the bishop, we should be okay. So, can you think of any piece that can get in the way of the white bishop? There are several, but there's only one option that we're going to be looking at. It's okay if you choose a different option. If you found c6, good job. You could also play knight c6 or bishop d7. Queen d7 works too, however, the bishop captures the queen, and although you were out of check, you still lost your queen. We'll discuss why that is bad later and how to avoid losing queen's smaller pieces. But in this case, we're going to play c6. Now the bishop is actually under attack and the king is no longer in check. Let's move on to our next example.
Okay, so I'm going to be explaining our second position. So in this position, white is going to give check to black again. And as you can see, this is the opening game. And you can see that you can check in the opening game very often, but sometimes it isn't helpful. So we're going to be looking at that later, but right now we want you to try it yourself. Can you find a way for a white piece to check the black king? And there are a few ways to do this. Pause the video. Okay, so if you found either the queen giving check or the bishop giving check, great job. Those are both great options. So let's look at the bishop first. The bishop can give check to the king by going to b5. Let's just give black a move. Let's say they go there, and the bishop can go to b5 and give check. Notice, the bishop is actually on the same diagonal as last time, and the pawn on c7 can protect. So there are actually the same amount of ways to protect this. The pawn, the knight, the bishop, and the queen. The queen is not a good option because the queen is more valuable than the bishop. This is the other way to do it. The queen giving check and going to h5. This is another way, and you can either run away or block. You cannot capture, and there's no way to capture the queen currently. You can block with this pawn or run away. Let's move on to our next position where we say sometimes checks aren't helpful.
Okay, in our second example, we're going to take a look at why checking too much is not actually a good thing. Now in this position, white is in check and black is up a queen. When you're up material, you want to try and win, not have a draw. A draw means a tie. But if you're winning, you want to try and win. You don't want to tie, you want to get the big win. So, in this position, black is trying to win, but he makes a big mistake. If white moves his king to d5, and black wants to keep on checking, let's just say that the black queen moves up to f3, it is now check. Now, let's say the king goes back down to d4, which is where he went before, and the black queen goes right back to where she was before. Now, you may have noticed, this is the exact same position that we had in the beginning, right? In the beginning, we had the same position. So this position has repeated 2 times, the first time and the second time. Now, when a position repeats 3 times in chess, it is a draw. And remember, black doesn't want to draw, but he forgets this. And when he checks the king goes back up to d5, the queen checks, the king goes back down, and black forgets that 3 times is a draw, and he puts it back down. This position has been repeated 3 times, and black gets a draw. Now, a draw isn't as bad as losing, but it's definitely better for white, because white didn't lose. He actually got a draw, which is better than losing. So, in some cases, checking is not always that good for your position. So always make sure that the check leads to something good before you do it.
Okay, now we're on to our final position. And this is not going to be a check, but a checkmate. This is when one of the kings cannot move anywhere, cannot be protected, cannot be captured with the piece that's attacking it, and cannot run away. And you'll see that this is actually a checkmate in 2 moves for white. As you can see, white's up 2 rooks, and that's very good for white because rooks are worth 5 points, and the king only has its own king itself. It's very lonely. So it's white move right now, and the best thing to do here, we'll look at this a lot later, is rook to b2. And this is getting pretty advanced, but I'm going to tell you, this is going to create a wall where the king is not allowed to run away forward, but can only run away on the side. We actually have a rook roller mate where you can look into this in a deeper understanding. So the king actually only has 1 move. That's it. 1 move possible. Cannot do anything else and is forced to go to g1. That is a forcing move. And now, can you find a way to give checkmate where the king cannot move anywhere else? It cannot move anywhere, otherwise the king will be taken. Pause the video and try to figure this out. If you chose rook to c1, you officially know how to win the game. Rook to c1 attacks the king, and since the rook is here doing the job too, the king cannot move here, here, or here, and since rooks go sideways, the king cannot go here or here. It cannot go to any of the squares around it, which means that black has to resign and black lost the game. So that's how you win in a game. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll always be notified when we release new videos. We hope to do math and puzzle videos soon, so stay tuned for that. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.